All right, let's dive into a story, a chillingly plausible alternate history. We're going to explore what our digital world might look like if the Cold War never really ended, but instead just moved online. And this is the question at the heart of it all. Just think about that for a second. What if the entire Cold War was won not with tanks and nukes, but with code and bandwidth? It's a wild thought, and it sends us down a completely different path in history. So let's set the stage. This is the beginning of what we're calling the Code War. Okay, so right here, this is the fork in the road. In our world, the US military built ARPANET. It was decentralized, designed specifically to survive a nuclear attack. But in this other timeline, the Soviets get there first with something called Soyuznet, and its purpose is totally different. It's a centralized, state-run project with one single ambitious goal: to outproduce the West. So how did this all kick off? Well, let's talk about the birth of Soyuznet. Behind every massive change, there's usually one person with a powerful idea. In this story, that person is a frustrated Soviet computer scientist, Dmitry Volkov. And he isn't some Bond villain trying to take over the world. Nope, he's just a guy trying to solve a very, very big problem. His solution was Soyuznet, which basically means Union Network. And it was a radical idea for the time. A single nationwide computer network connecting everything: factories, distribution centers, planning committees, all in real time. I mean, just imagine the Soviet Union's biggest nightmare, trying to coordinate production across 11 time zones. It was a logistical mess. Volkov's plan was designed to fix that. It wasn't about ideology, not at first. It was about pure economic efficiency. And wow, did this idea catch on fast. Volkov proposes it in 1968. By the early 70s, the Kremlin is pouring pretty much unlimited resources into it. And then, boom, by 1975, Soyuznet isn't just a side project anymore. It's the digital backbone of the entire Soviet state. It was absolutely central to their power. But here's the thing about powerful tools. They rarely stay used for just their original purpose. And this is where things take a really, really sharp turn. We're entering the ideological wave. Fast forward to the 1980s, and the KGB starts looking at Soyuznet. They don't see a tool for managing supply chains. No, they see its true potential. They see a weapon for the mind. And their strategy was, honestly, brilliant in a terrifying way. They didn't just blast crude propaganda. No, they were much smarter. They started beaming Soyuznet signals into Western countries, offering free access to a new kind of internet. And they customized the content. Imagine being in a struggling American factory town, and suddenly you're seeing articles about worker exploitation that speak directly to you. They were selling an image of stability, of purpose, a clean, orderly world compared to the noisy chaos of the West. So, of course, the West had to respond. This quote from our alternate timelines President Reagan just says it all. His famous Evil Empire speech: it's not about missiles, it's about the digital tyranny of Soyuznet. The main event, the real battleground, had officially shifted online. So you've got this massive digital tug-of-war. But what happens? Nobody wins. Instead, the world just splits. This leads to a permanent standoff, the Great Digital Schism. And this, right here, this is the moment our history and this alternate one diverge completely. The Berlin Wall? It never fell. The Soviet Union? Its economy now humming along because of Soyuznet, and its ideology winning over people online, it never collapsed. The Cold War didn't end. It just froze in place. So what does this world actually look like today, in this alternate 2025? Well, it's a planet of two worlds and two webs. Let's break this down because it's fascinating. On one side, you have the red net, Soyuznet. It's universal, it's free, kind of like a public utility, but it is completely state-run. All the content is curated, monitored, super clean, and ad-free. The catch? You have zero anonymity. On the other side, there's the Liberty Net. Basically our version of the web. It's commercial, it's fragmented, you probably have to pay for a lot of it. It's chaotic and vibrant, sure, but it's also cluttered with ads. And privacy, that's not a right, it's a commodity you have to buy. So what does it actually feel like to log on in these two worlds? Well, on the red net, it's like walking into a pristine, quiet public library. All the news is state-approved, the educational stuff is world-class, but the forums are heavily monitored. And the biggest thing, every single post you make is tied to your real name and something called a social contribution score. Now, hop over to the LibertyNet. It's not a library, it's a massive, chaotic, vibrant bazaar. You can find a beautiful art right next to conspiracy theories and hate speech. Innovation and commerce thrive. And your identity? It's whatever you want it to be, real, anonymous, or completely made up. This division, as you can imagine, didn't just stay online. It fundamentally reshaped the entire globe, creating what you could call an invisible wall. The world changed in three massive ways. First, forget globalization as we know it. It never happened. Instead, you get two completely separate cultural and economic bubbles that rarely ever mix. Second, espionage gets a total makeover. Spies aren't stealing military secrets anymore. The most valuable commodity is data, and their job is to smuggle it across that digital wall. And finally, this creates a permanent new divide for all of humanity, polarizing the planet between two core ideas: collective stability versus individual freedom. And that brings us to the haunting irony of this whole alternate history. The technology that promised to connect all of humanity was instead weaponized to divide it. It didn't break down walls. It built a new, invisible one, separating every human mind into one of two competing, mutually incomprehensible realities. So it leaves us with a pretty powerful question: which web would you choose?